You know, you think you'd get done with a trilogy and there'd be a big ticker tape parade, or it would just be a big momentous occasion, and you try to maybe it's not that, partly because, well, it's an unknown work. I'm an unknown author, as is my co-author. And really, after the first book, going into the second, there was no effort to market it, because why bother till we get done the third? But nonetheless, there's this internal sense of satisfaction. As much as I enjoyed the process of writing, I didn't, it was a labor of love, as they say. You're always glad to get done, and in this case, stepwise. And well, what originally started off as a campfire talk, and then let's make it into a book, and then it became a trilogy. I remember kind of, once I started calculating up the words of the major parts that we had, I'm like, wow, this is much bigger than one book. It's a trilogy, and here's how we break it up. As we went through each section, and I know this is especially the case for me, it kind of opened up a new window for how to formulate and enrich, and where there was ripe real estate to explore. In the case of that real estate in Legend of Campfire Charlie was the visitor center, the Sweetwater Visitor Center. Here's an opportunity to really capture the day in the life of a ranger in a visitor center. And then from there, each book, different elements took on new forms, new expansive forms, or new elements emerged that hadn't originally been envisioned, and then trying to weave them all together. Of course, culminating really in the third book, the Final Campfire. Final Campfire is, I think, much more complex, but structurally satisfying, and it is a cascade of endings, not a singular ending, and those endings weave together and have different levels of structuring I think allow the reader to dive deeply and then come back up for air and tell a story, and many stories from a couple viewpoints. But anyhow, going back, 3 books done, a trilogy. The formatting, I do think the books are beautiful in their paperback version, which could be a hardback, but because we self-publish through Amazon, and I did all the formatting, I did all the drawings. I really think they're beautiful. I mean, they're just fun to look at, and they were loosely modeled after when I was looking at an old copy of Treasure Island I had, in terms of the names of the chapters and how the larger sections had chapters under them, and the name of those sections, chapters over each page, and the pictorials. And also written with the paperback, unlike the Kindle. You can reference back and forward more readily, and I think that's important for certain sections. You want to be able to page back to, this is a continuation of that narrative from the second book, Last Stand at Boulder Ridge, and let me thumb through that and find it. Where in the Kindle you kind of get lost in that digital space, and you don't have proper headers and all that. It's nice to have that too, but I think the paperback, it was meant for that bygone era when books were written in paper. So here I am in kind of deep nature, not quite at a fire, but getting to the point where I might build a campfire. And I'm thinking about the 3 books. Glad they're done, but knowing probably have to put another log on the fire to get the word out and properly put that tidy bow on introducing this to maybe an audience that I know is out there and they'd be very interested and entertained. by it. I also think of the books, it was a 6-year writing process, and it's an evolution in writing, I think, and framework that's reflected in the books. Not that Campfire Charlie is a children's book, but I think it could be, of the 3 books, it could be more classified in that genre. Although early on, in The Legend of Campfire Charlie, the first book, which starts off as a very simple narrative, the reader is clued in early that something larger is in play, and specifically with how Ranger Rusty's day is fractured with these timestamps that inexorably move forward in terms of hours of the day, but it goes back and forth in time on the order of days, weeks, even months, that each one of those is a separate narrative that are structured in such a way that they're little puzzles, and the puzzles reveal themselves with a series of aha moments. But so book 1, I think a 14-year-old kid would really love it. I think an adult would too, and it works at both levels. Then Last Stand at Boulder Ridge, I think this is the kind of step up into maybe adolescence, where the narrative is maybe more complex and discursive. It kind of skims. It reveals a Ranger Rusty, his backstory, that takes him to adventures in other parts of the globe in ways that will surprise the reader. And maybe so. I think, and then finally, Final Campfire. I think a lot of that, the idealism expressed in Last Stand at Boulder Ridge, kind of reaches the arc is, I don't know, a little more mature, but the book and the writing is literature in full, I think, by the Final Campfire. All the loose ends come together in a way that is simple but complex. We allow, I think, as a writer, I know I got lost, but never to the point that we couldn't find our way back to the campfire, to where all these stories reached off to and then came together. So the 3 books are kind of an evolution of a writing process, in a way. I think that is something to think about. And there's so many things to think about. Here I am sitting on a log and just thinking, wow, the books are done, the trilogy's done. We have it, in a little spiffy web page. But I feel like, so that fire is extinguished, but I feel like now we have to build these other campfires to kind of tell the story in a way that maybe opens it up to an audience. I thought if I wrote 3 books, that would be I would have done it. It would have been the end all be all, but I'm not unsatisfied with where we're at and how the books turned out. I'm super happy about that, and it's a good spot to be.